I'm Danny, and this is the Scream Princess podcast. Hello, everybody. It's me, Danny. Welcome to the final Scream Princess podcast of 2025. Oh my God, this year has gone so quickly. So it was about this time last year. So obviously, as I'm recording this, it's the end of December, and I had the bright idea to start a podcast. I had no clue how to do it. I had no clue what technology I needed. Can you hear the crashing and banging? It's the cat trying to ruin my professionalism at the last minute. No, I had no clue how I was going to do a podcast. I didn't know the technology. I just thought this is a good idea, and I decided to run with it. Now, this one's going to be a little bit different today because I don't have a guest. And the reason I don't have a guest is because I got until, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I'd recorded all the podcasts, and I thought, right, that's episode 52. So that's me done for the year. I recorded 52 podcasts this year, and that's a lot. And then I realized there was actually 53 Wednesdays in 2025. So the podcast goes out every Wednesday. Why Wednesday? I don't know. I think by the time I had the first one ready, it was going to be Wednesday the following day, and I thought, well, I'll launch it on a Wednesday then. And it's been a Wednesday every week for the whole of the year. I haven't missed any weeks, and I can't believe I've done a whole year and I haven't actually missed any weeks. But of course, I recorded 52. I told my final guest that he was my final guest of the year, and then I was like, oh, okay, so I need to do something. So today it's just going to be me chatting to you all by myself, no guests. I'm giving everybody a break. Everybody's got a well-deserved festive break, and I'm just going to do a bit of a recap over basically everything and everyone I've talked to over the past year. How I found the whole podcast thing. The cat is literally trying to take out a brand new lamp I bought. Right, stop. Stay right there. Good night. What are you doing? Come on, out. Out. Go on. You've been fed and now you're just being a pest. Go on, out you go. There we go. I'm back. See, if I had a guest, they could have chatted to you while I was gone, but instead you just heard me chatting to the cat. And then I've got some questions and answers. Well, some questions that people have sent in via Instagram or via Facebook, and I'm going to answer those, and I'm going to let you know what is in store for the podcast and everything else next year, 2026. So it's probably not going to be an hour of me chatting today. It will be much shorter, because you don't want to listen to me chatting for a full hour all by myself. So end of last year, I decided to do the podcast. I did some Googling. I worked out how to get the podcast live on Spotify. I decided I also wanted to do it as a kind of video podcast because some people want to watch, and I think I personally prefer to watch people chatting in a kind of interview situation. Now, obviously, I've got people from all over the world on the podcast, so it doesn't always work that we're going to be in the same room. So I worked out how to do it via Zoom, how to record it via Zoom, and I am not in any way, shape or form a technological whiz. I'm actually useless when it comes to anything like that. So the fact that I worked out what I was doing and how I was doing it amazed nobody more than it amazed me. So I worked all of that out. Worked out how to do an RSS feed thing. I don't even know what that stands for, but by putting it on Spotify, automatically would then go on to Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube, but as a podcast. So it's kind of on YouTube twice. It goes into my playlist, and it's the ones that I've uploaded as a video, but also the kind of just audio version is on there. So I worked all of that out, and then it was like, right, I need to find some guests. Now, I did not think that I would be going for a full year and that I would, manage to get a podcast out every single week, but it has been a lot. So first week I had the Hex Girls. So Megan Lockhurst and Cheryl Neve, who are two of my very best friends. There's the three of us. We're in a girl band called Hex, if any of you didn't know that, which was just a bit of fun. we released a Halloween themed tune a couple of years ago called Trick or Treat, and a Christmas song last year called This Christmas. So they are our only 2 songs. We're like a holiday band. We only release songs that, you know, are festivities. I think we should, I don't know, we should have done something for like solstice, or I don't know, maybe we'll come up with something else for next year. I don't know. But I had both of those on, and it was just a really fun catch up actually, because I've moved up north 2 years ago. I'm in the northeast of England now, and they're both down south, and so we don't get to all be together that much. So that was a really fun catch up with both of those. Next up, we had Spencer Hawken, who at the time was running the Romford Horror Film Festival. Little did we know at this point, he was going to then end up taking over the running of a cinema called Lumiere, which is going from strength to strength, and it's an independent cinema. If any of you are south-based and you live anywhere near Romford, or if you're, you know, south-based and you don't live near Romford and you're willing to travel, he does some amazing things there. So as well as all of the kind of normal film releases that come out in the cinema, he has special days with themes, and I kind of wish I was really still down south. I literally think that would be my second home, and I'd be watching all the films. But it's an amazing venue. He really supports the work of independent film as well as the big films and filmmakers, importantly, with the Romford Film Festival and obviously with the Lumiere. So if you can support the cinema, the venture in any way, then please do. And then next, Tom Lee Rutter from many movies, a director, and I worked with him on the Pocket film of Superstitions, which is now released. I think he did a pre-order on the Blu-ray, and I think they are now being delivered. So that's really exciting. If you don't have a copy of that on order, then if you look it up, Google will be your friend. I'm sure you'll be able to get yourself a copy. Then we had Liam Regan, so directed me on both Banjo and Eating Miss Campbell. So it was always fun catching up with him. And somebody actually did ask in the questions, I didn't put it in my list here to answer, I'll answer it kind of here rather than later, if there's going to be a Banjo 3 and if I was going to be in it. Well, Liam did mention possibly a third in the kind of Helen Lotte universe trilogy, but I would say Dietz died once in the director's cut of Banjo and twice in Eating Miss Campbell, so I would be amazed if she makes a comeback, but never say never. If he asks me, then maybe, if he finds a way. And then we had Joshua Kennedy, so a director all the way over in Texas, who I worked with on Saturnalia, Mantipus and Cowgirls vs Pterodactyls, as well as some upcoming feature films that he is yet to finish filming, and I can't remember the name of many of those, so I don't know what we shot and where, but we had a mad kind of film schedule a couple of years ago where we shot like all of my scenes for, I don't know, his next 8 movies, so we'll see what happens there. And then, breathe, because I'd want this not to be an hour, and it could very easily be an hour. Dacre Stoker, the great grandnephew of Bram Stoker, who was super interesting. Anything you need to know about Dracula, the history of Dracula, Bram Stoker. I said Stoker, didn't I? Stoker! Dacre is your guy, and he also runs tours over in Transylvania, and he also goes to Whitby, which is obviously part of the inspiration behind Bram Stoker's Dracula, so he does tours there as well. And then Paul Cotgrove and Sing Lal. So this was when I went over to Horror on Sea in January, and I managed to steal them away from the festival for about half an hour each and chat to them about their roles at the festival. So Paul is the director. If you can get over to Horror on Sea in Southend, it's an incredible independent film festival which really does promote independent filmmakers. I'm not in any, I don't think, in 2026, which will be the first year, I think, since I've been acting that I haven't really done much. I've had a very quiet year this year, but I will be narrating the Horror on Sea 13 Years documentary. So my voice will be there, even if, you know, I may not be. And Lal has the video shop installation there, and he was also one of the brains behind Video Shop Tales of Terror and Video Shop Tales of Terror 2. And then next, sticking with the theme, the segue here happened actually naturally. But Alex and Hannah from Tiz Films, I had both of them, husband and wife team, and they do incredible things. I worked with them on Ice Cream on the Beach, Video Shop 1 and 2, and Mosaic. And then Pat Higgins, the director of Power Tool Cheerleaders versus the boy band of the Screeching Dead. I think he will be very, very pleased that I managed to say that, actually, because I get the title wrong most of the time, and I think I've nailed it now. And then next up, Mark Iverson, who actually did come here, and we shot the podcast in my living room. So he's a local author who writes all about classic horror, and he is local to the Northeast. So he's one of the only ones who I've managed to actually do in-person interviews with for this. And then my friend Lauren Jane Barnett, who is an author and now also a writer, a director on film. So she's doing incredible things. Next up was Ray Turner from Jack-O-Lantern Stories. And Ray was somebody I actually found. So most of the guests I've had are people that I know from, you know, the horror industry. That's why there's a lot of film people on the podcast. But the podcast I kind of did want to cover not just horror film. Like, it's basically horror themed, but I wanted to cover all things kind of spooky, haunted. So Ray was somebody, I found his Instagram and I loved his stuff. He kind of travels to all these haunted locations and he gives you the stories. But in short, you don't have to listen to him for ages. He just kind of gives you the kind of, I don't know, like synopsises and breakdowns of these different locations. And he's really, really interesting and was super fun to chat to. I'd actually love to go on a little adventure with Ray to somewhere haunted, and like he could tell me all of the stuff that's gone on there. And then I went off to Romford Horror Film Festival. So that was in March. Now we're up to March, and my first podcast guest there was Dean Sharp of Dean of the Dead Hot Sauces, and now he's also making films himself. And we did a chili sauce challenge with 5, I think, of his hot sauces. I've got to say, I thought I was a hot sauce connoisseur, and I think I used to be. I think I used to eat a lot more hot sauce than I think I, have in the last couple of years, and I've lost my chili tolerance. So we're going through the hot sauces, and I'm thinking they're not very hot. The flavors are really, really good. I mean, they have a kick, but they're not killing me. They're not like, it's not like watching Hot Ones and the people at the end are dying. And then I got a hot one, and I think I nearly died. If I'm not dead, I could possibly be a ghost, who knows? But it was so hot. And everyone else managed to do it. Everyone else did really well. And it turned out that I literally did the worst, which I wasn't really expecting. I thought there were other people who would struggle with the hot sauce, but it was me. But Dean of the Dead hot sauces are probably some of the best flavored hot sauces I've honestly ever tried. And I've brought them all home. I still have them, and I use them on, everything. And I have had the really hot one. You put a little dribble of it in a whole pot of cooking. It's not one that, you just add as an extra. But yeah, try his hot sauces, look them up. And then I also had Alf Riswell, who is in charge of restoring a lot of the old Ray Harryhausen models, so the stop motion figures that were created for all of those films back then. And it was really, really interesting. And I had Al on for an hour, and I easily could have had, another hour of chat, if not more, with him. So I may have to bring him back at some point, maybe next time I'm down south for a part 2. And then I had a double act, Alan Bryce from the Dark Side magazine and Rick Melton, who painted the artwork on the cover of the magazine for the last, however many years. But he's actually just finished at Dark Side. So it's the whole new kind of world of Dark Side without Rick, but I'm sure it will be amazing. And obviously those two were great to talk to. And Alan Bryce is the hot sauce king. Like, he literally ate about a teaspoon of the one that I had a dab of and nearly died. So I knew he'd be good though. I've seen a video of him doing hot sauce before, and I knew he was gonna do it. Like, he's in his 70s, like he shouldn't be able to eat hot sauce like that, but he smashed it. And then I had, who did I have? I had MJ Dixon and Alexander Gent. So MJ, director from Pandemonium and many other movies. Alexander Gent is incredible special effects and makeup artist. So I had both of those on. Because the thing is, at Romford, I didn't want to take anybody away for, a full hour. I'm taking time out of their day and their time at the festival. So I was just kind of pulling people in and doing little snippets and then kind of splicing them together. So that's why these episodes during Romford have got a few people on. And then the next one, I had 3 on an episode. So I had T-Mards, Tony Marden, Tasha Gilby, who is a makeup artist, and Francesco Gabriel, who is a director. So I had all 3 of those. I think, did they all try the hot sauce? I'm not sure if they did. No, Tasha, actually, we did some makeup. She horrored me up a little bit and put some blood on my face. And then we actually went out for food. We wandered through Romford High Street and we went to Wetherspoons together for some lunch. And I had the kind of blood on my face, but no one said anything. I mean, it's Romford. If you know Romford, you'll know that anything goes, anything goes. And then that was the final one actually from Romford. And then I came home and my next guest was Aviana Snow, and I think I had spoken to her at Romford about coming on the show, but I wanted to have a full hour with her to talk about her career. So Aviana, incredible screen queen. She's got a really kind of ethereal look. I feel like she'd be very good, I don't know, as like an elvish princess in, I don't know, one of the Lord of the Rings, or, it's not a character in Game of Thrones. I think she would have been great at, but she's got that real kind of ethereal look, and she's doing incredible things in horror. And then next up, Simon Turner. So set and prop designer Simon. What I love about Simon's work is he creates a lot of his things out of rubbish. So basically saving rubbish from going into landfill, he repurposes it and creates, amazing sets and amazing props and does some really cool stuff. So he's kind of up and coming now, and he's done some really cool stuff. I've worked with him. He worked on Dragon with me actually. And then T-Mards, Tony Marden came back. So I'd had his better half, Lauren, obviously on her own, Lauren Jane Barnett, talking about her stuff. And then I had Tony come back and talk about The Witches of the Sands, which is a movie he has been in production with for about, I don't know, I'm sure it's pre-lockdown, so a good 5 years. And he said there's actually going to be released next year, or at least half of it. So we'll see. I've heard this before though. So Tony, if you're watching or listening, then, well, we'll see. And then I had the guys from The Weeping Bank. So they tell incredible ghost stories and they were really fun to chat to. And I must make it to one of their events. So if you are into spooky ghost stories in spooky settings or old libraries or old churches, then look up The Weeping Bank and see if they're coming to a town near you. And then MJ Dixon came back, so for a proper chat. I've done his podcast a couple of times, so he returned the favour and came back, and we talked about all of his movies up until now and what he's going to be up to next. And then there was Phil and Hayden, who are releasing a book called Alone in the Dark, which is, I think it was 50 years of slasher movies, and I think it's now 100 years of slasher movies. It's a lot of years of slasher movies anyway. And then there was Andy Edwards, who is an incredible director I've worked with on a few things, including Punch. And then the team of his next movie that he was producing, the team from Fairy Dust, the Chad Michael Ward's movie, also starring Annabella Rich. Then there was Ian Andrew from the Spoken in Whispers book, and they have various other books coming out together. So they kind of co-write these short story books. I have lipstick on my teeth. I can feel that I have. Give me a second. There we go. Because I'm going too quick. Then there was a team from Psycho Sex Doll. So another movie coming out, sexploitation. And then Megan Lockhurst came back. So obviously one of my best friends. It was great having an hour just chatting about, I don't know if we chatted as much about her career or if we just literally chatted about general gossip. I can't remember. You'll have to watch or listen and find out. Then there was Carlisle Cult Cinema Club, who again, I've been on that podcast a few times, so they returned the favour, we swapped over. And then actor John Paul Gates, who seems to always be working. He's probably like the hardest working man in independent horror, I think. He doesn't just do horror, but I feel like you always see him on something popping up. And then Cheryl came back. So Cheryl Neve came back. And again, I think we spent an hour talking about random gossip, and then also our murder mystery company, Murder Mysteries Inc., that we founded during lockdown. So we had a good chat about that. So if you are looking for a murder mystery, check out our website, and we also can write custom games. So if you have a theme that you want written, we are your girls. And then I had actress Megan Tremethick. So when I'd been at Romford, I'd actually filmed a podcast with Laurie Brewster, Megan Tremethick from their film company, and I don't know what happened to it. Like, I backed it up and the backup and the original disappeared, so I lost the podcast. So she kindly came back and we did it again. And then director producer Charlie McDougall came on the show, followed by Kamal Yildirim, who is an incredible DOP, but also writer, director, actor. I've worked with Kamal numerous times as an actress, and he's actually also DOP'd for me twice on some of my productions, and we're hoping to do some stuff next year. So we'll see. I need to write the stuff, but then hopefully we're going to have some more projects together, because he's really, really good and he makes everything look incredible. And then Daryl Buxton came on the show, who is a film historian, knows everything there is to know about classic horror and more. And then Reba Clark, who is an incredible composer who's based over in the States, but he does a film score like an old Hollywood action movie, or you can imagine like an old Western with, you know, like the big instruments and everything. I mean, he doesn't play the big instruments, he does it all digitally, but it's absolutely amazing. So he actually scores all of Joshua Kennedy's productions, and that's how I knew him. And then next up, another Northeastern guest who actually did come here to record the podcast, and that was Craig Conway. So you'll know him from The Descent or from Dog Soldiers. He was in Vera. So really good having a catch up with him. And I actually was friends with him in London. Like, I knew him from London. I worked on a film he was in called How to Stop Being a Loser. And I think I was either at drama school or had just left drama school, and I must have just left drama school, I think. And so I don't think I even had a line in it. I was basically an extra, but I worked with him on that many, many moons ago, and hadn't seen him for a good few years. So it was really good to have a catch up, and we're both local. And then there was Lawrence R. Harvey. So Lawrence, obviously, probably most well known for The Human Centipede 2, but I've worked with Lawrence on many productions, and it's always lovely catching up with him. So it was really fun to have him on the show. And then James and Caroline from Raya Films, they came on the show, so it was great chatting to them. So they're doing some really exciting things in independent horror too, so check out Raya Films for some of their stuff. And then it was my friend Megan's other half, Brad Watson, who is an incredible director. He came on the show, and there's literally nothing he doesn't know about a film, and he made my job so easy. I hardly had to ask him anything. He just can talk about film, and I feel like I could listen to him for hours. It was super, super interesting. And you know, his knowledge is probably why he's so good at what he does. He's just, I don't know, he just knows so much about filmmaking, and obviously that kind of transfers over into his own work. And then we got Witchy with Ellie Prizeman from the Essex Witch Museum. So she gave us a bit of a history on the Essex witch trials. And then super scream queen Emily Booth came on the show, and it was really lovely catching up with her, because it'd been probably about a year since I'd seen her at the Dark Fest Festival. It's like a convention, sort of coincides with Dark Side magazine. And we'd had a good old gossip there, and I hadn't seen her since, so it was really lovely to have Emily on the show talking about all of her career. And again, I could have had her on here for a lot longer. She's actually also just released her own podcast, so if you look up Emily All of her links, I think, are on her Instagram page. So look up Emily Booth, and her podcast is incredible as well. And then Rick Jones from Horrify Me, who actually had shot Emily. So I think I was talking to him, and then there was pictures of her that kind of covered in blood. But Rick, basically, if you want a photo shoot where you look horrific, he's your guy. But the pictures are incredible, and they're done well, they're done tastefully, but he does create some really kind of gruesome scenes. And then it was the Halloween episode, which actually was just myself here with my partner Kyle, just chatting about Halloween. Really, I thought, I didn't know what to do for Halloween episode, and we'd actually tried to get Tony and Lauren back for Halloween, and we just couldn't work out the dates. Obviously one of us was always busy or at work or something, so we ended up just doing it, the two of us. I think we had some drinks and chatted Halloween. We're nearly there. Oh my god, 25 minutes in already, so maybe I am going to talk for an hour. No, I don't think I will. Next up we had Chris Annable. So he has an ATC video shop in, somewhere near Derby, Alfreton, I think that's the name of the place. And he also directed a movie that I was in. And maybe another one in the future. I'm sure he did mention some kind of sequel or a different film on the podcast, so we will have to see what happens there. And then Simon J. Ballard, who is a writer and also a classic horror enthusiast. And Alexander Butler, who played Piglet in the Pooniverse, followed by Darren Ward, who is the director of a trilogy of Giallo-inspired movies, including Beyond Fury, which I am in. And then Tony and Lauren did come back. So this is the beginning of the festive period, and I thought, right, we're going to do a Christmassy episode taking us into December. So it was myself, Kyle, Tony and Lauren. There were drinks. And me and Kyle had drinks. Tony and Lauren had water because they had wedding planning the following day. They were wedding breakfast plan or something. I don't know. They were going out with their wedding planner. I think that was the score. So they were being sensible. So it was fun catching up with them anyway. And I got a message a few days ago, and at the time of recording this, it's not actually Christmas yet. And they sent me a Happy New Year message, and I'm like, I'm really confused at why you're saying Happy New Year to me because it's not even Christmas yet. It's the kind of message you usually get on New Year, but no, not with Tony and Lauren. They work to their own calendar. And then we had Will Marshall, so I called him a Scream Prince, because Will's doing a lot in independent horror, and he's done a fair few films now, so I feel like he's kind of starting to deserve some kind of title. Followed by my penultimate guest of 2025, Jeff Harmer from Fraught Productions, and then finishing last week with Simon Bamford, who is one of the Cenobites, and was super, super lovely. I've met Simon at Horror on Sea a couple of years ago, only very briefly. We do both appear in Mosaic. I think what my character has going on, kind of influences like stuff that happens for his character, but we didn't actually get any scenes together. So we actually didn't know each other very well. And he's one of those people that you kind of start talking to and you feel like you've known forever. So I want to say a huge thank you to all of those guests. I just wanted to kind of go through them all and plug a little bit for you what you're up to now. But thank you all so much for coming on the show. And to the viewers, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in, for watching, for listening, and for supporting. And don't forget, do subscribe to the channel, hit like, and leave me your comments. If you comment, give me ideas of what you'd like to see on the podcast as well as the YouTube channel, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, what's coming next or what I've got planned for 2026. So obviously I want to give you the content that you want to see. So without you telling me, I don't know that, and I'm just kind of doing what I want to do. So so do get involved. Feel free to send me messages on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, letting me know what it is you would like to see.
Welcome back to the Scream Princess podcast.
So next up, I've got notes here and I've written them all in a weird order. I've got a little bit of a Q&A. So people have been sending questions about the podcast or about horror in general or about what I'm up to. So I'm going to answer all of those. So the first one, what is my favourite spooky Christmas ghost story? I don't know about spooky Christmas ghost story. I can't, you're like, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. But I did recently learn about the Yule Cat. And apparently, this is a Norse, I don't know, what do you call it? Not mythology, it's a story, a Norse urban legend, I guess. That if you don't wear new clothes at Christmas, if you don't get clothes for Christmas and wear them, then the Yule Cat will eat you. And I kind of like that. And I text Kyle and I said, am I getting clothes for Christmas? Because I don't want one of the cats to eat me. And he said that I'm definitely getting clothes for Christmas. So, in fact, I knew that already because we were shopping together at one point and we both bought each other the same thing. And then we're just going to swap them. Because it was like, I find that men can't, well, you can wear what you want actually. I'm not going to tell you what you can wear and what you can't. But most men wouldn't really wear women's clothes. But I do find for me, sometimes like men's t-shirts or men's jumpers, if I just buy them in a small size, they'll fit me and I can wear them and it's fine. So this is what's happened. It's actually a Stranger Things top from Primark. And they did a girl version, but it's quite short and cropped. And I'm like, I don't want a really short cropped t-shirt. I want one that kind of covers my tummy and, you know, like my bum. I don't want to feel like I'm constantly pulling my t-shirt down. Like gone are the days when I was in my 20s and I would wear cropped t-shirts. So in the men's section, they had one that was longer. And I was like, well, I'll just have that one too. So that was that. So that's probably my favourite story that I've heard. And it means that I will always get clothes for Christmas now. Unless he has enough of me and he would like me to get eaten by the cat, then I guess he won't buy me clothes. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to be good. Favourite Christmas film? It's a tough one. Maybe Gremlins, which actually I haven't watched this year. I've watched lots of Christmas films this year. Some of them are Christmas films, new Christmas films that I wish I hadn't watched because they're rubbish. And I think Christmas is that funny time of year. Like, I never watch rom-coms. I don't like them. But I will occasionally at Christmas, you know, if you're like busy, you're doing bits and pieces, and I think I'll just put something on the telly and you'll just put on, you know, a Hallmark Christmas movie or something, and then you do kind of wish that you hadn't. Oh, no, I'll tell you what though. Christmas film I do love, and it's on my Christmas 12 days of, or 12 sleighs of Christmas list, The Holiday. So it's definitely, you know, not the kind of movie you'd usually expect me to watch, but I absolutely love it. And I used to be that it was always on TV, not at Christmas as well, and I could watch it any time of year. So The Holiday is a favourite of mine. So Edward Scissorhands, I don't know, my 12 Sleighs of Christmas pretty much sums up, you know, most of my favourite Christmas movies, but I'm sure there are more. Like, I've just watched Mary Poppins again, which is, you know, it's not a horror. It's a great Christmas movie though. I don't even think it's a Christmas movie. Is it? There's nothing Christmassy about it, is it? Apart from it's the kind of movie that you watch at Christmas. It's not Christmas themed. It's not set at Christmas. I think, no, it's not. I don't know. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, another one. I think I watched them actually because it was Dick Van Dyke's 100th birthday, and I had a little marathon, a Dick Van Dyke marathon, and I watched all three of the Night at the Museums, even though he's in the first one. I think he's in the last one. I don't know if he's in the... Was he in the second one? I don't know. I don't know if he's in all of them. I was knitting while I was watching it, so obviously I missed some of it to know whether he was in them or not, but I definitely watched those, and I watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Can't really say that very well. It's quite hard to say. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And then Mary Poppins. So, yeah. Though, yeah, I don't know. There's not many Christmas horrors that I'd say I love. A lot of them are kind of, you know, weak. I feel like we need a really good Christmas horror. One I haven't seen though, I haven't seen Krampus. So that's one that I do want to see, and I think I would probably like. It's the same, I think it's the same team as did Trick or Treat, which is one of my favourite Halloween films. So I feel like it is one I do need to watch. I meant to order it actually, now it's a little bit late. I don't know if it'll come in time for Christmas. Maybe if I order it today, it might arrive tomorrow, and then we can watch it on Christmas Day. That sounds like a plan. What inspired me to start the Scream Princess podcast? Madness. I don't know. I think I moved up north from London. I left London behind and I moved up north because I wanted a simpler life by the sea, and I just wanted to be a bit closer to nature, and I wanted I don't know, I just felt like I've lived in a city long enough and I just wanted to be kind of out by the coast. I think since lockdown I always wanted to move to the coast. And then I moved up here and I had a really, really busy time. The first part I was kind of trying to buy somewhere to live. So I was kind of living at different friends' houses. I ended up living in Scotland for a few months. And waiting for my sale to go through in London and my purchase to go through up here. And then when I moved in, we had like a crazy time renovating. So we literally ripped everything out. It was rewired. We had all the carpets up. Everything was done. So that took a while. And then I was kind of just busy trying to settle. And then I settled and I was like, oh, I've got all of this time on my hands now. I don't have to work as hard as I had to work in London because I don't have the overheads that I had in London. So I just have all this time on my hands and I hate being idle. I feel like I always want to do something. And I'd been listening to a few podcasts and I was like, you know what? It would be cool to kind of do a horror podcast for not just horror, but like I said, horror, haunted stuff, spooky stuff. So all the things that I'm kind of interested in. And it was a way of kind of talking to a lot of my friends. So now that I live quite far away from a lot of the people that I was friends with, down south or worked with in the south, it was like, oh, it would be a good chance for me to have a catch up with a lot of these people. And also, they get to get their stories out there. And I don't know, I just thought it'd be something fun to do. And then I kind of set myself a challenge, really. It was actually on a complete whim. It really was me just thinking, oh, I want to do a podcast. How do I do a podcast? Google, this is how I do a podcast, let's go. And like I said earlier, I did not think I would actually manage, 52 episodes, a full year worth of podcasts without any gaps and, get that many guests to agree to come onto the show. So it has been incredible. It's been a lot. Getting one out a week has been a lot. And I think I'd have weeks where I'd maybe, I'd shoot 3, edit them, and then I'd have a couple of weeks off and then I'd be like, oh, I must get some more in, and kind of went like that. So it's been kind of a conveyor belt of shooting, editing. It's also taught me though that I really enjoy editing, and I haven't edited the podcast that much. I basically edited just the trimmed the beginnings and the ends and stuck something in the middle. The only one I actually had to edit was Kyle. So trust my boyfriend to be the one who says things he shouldn't on a podcast, and I had to censor him a little bit. So yeah, that was the inspiration behind it, really. What other Scream Queens would you like to appear on the podcast? Well, this is the thing. So it has been a bit heavy on the male guests, I think, and that hasn't been on purpose. I think they just they just say yes, and then it just turned out that maybe I know more men in horror than I do women in horror. So it has been great having both on the show, but I do think I would like to have some more women on for 2026. I mean, it's the Scream Princess podcast. And I know that's kind of based on me being the Scream Princess, but if you like, I'd like to have a bit of girl power on the show. I'd like some ladies, some women to come on the show. So who would I like to come on the show? Well, Devanny Pinn, I've been chatting to. So she's a US based Scream Queen, and she acts, but she also produces and writes and directs, and so she's incredible. And we met at Cannes a few years ago and got on really well, so I'd love to have her on the show. And we have been chatting about it, so I'll have to see if I can pin down a date. Obviously with the US, UK, we have to kind of pin down a time as well, that obviously we can both be free to do it kind of transatlantically. Who else? Well, dream Scream Queens, like Scream Queens that I grew up watching and admiring. And I don't think I could get on the show, but I would love Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Neve Campbell. I think they're 3 of my favourites. Fairuza Balk. So people that I grew up watching and loving their movies, it'd be really cool to have them on the show. But like I said, I don't think I'll be able to get them to agree or even get them to read my messages if I sent them. So yeah, just a pipe dream. What else have we got here? If you were to change the ending of a horror movie, what would it be and why? Okay, so this was sent by Alice Bazaar on Instagram. And I don't know if you've seen Serial Caller. So, because I wouldn't want to say I want to change an ending of anybody else's movie. Because that's the script they wrote. That's, that's what they wanted. I'm sure there are films that I thought, oh, well, that was weird at the end. In fact, I watched one the other day. Death Note. There was in Death Note, which I think was based on a TV series, and then it was a film. I've got to say, at the moment, when you scroll through Netflix and Prime trying to find something to watch, and because there's so much rubbish on there, I end up just giving up. I'm going to read a book, or I'm just going to go to sleep. I can't be bothered. But we stumbled across Death Note the other day. Found out it's based on a Japanese cartoon, actually. But this is a film version, and it was very 90s in style. Like, it started off and it was very like, oh, this could be a little bit Final Destination. Like, I'm loving this. I really, really loved the film all the way through. And then the end, I was a bit like, I'm not sure what happened at the end. Like, did he die? What happened? I don't know what happened. I don't get it. I didn't get the end. So maybe I would have done something there. I don't know. But I mean, that's not a major thing. I really, really enjoyed the movie. But Serial Caller is a film that I wrote, and I started writing it before I was even at drama school. I had never done any screenwriting before. It was an idea I had. It was based on the kind of industry I was working in at the time as a glamour model. And I thought, oh, I just wrote some scenes, and I was piecing these scenes together. Then when I went to drama school, I learned how to write a film, and I was like, oh, actually, I'm going to make this into a script, like a proper script, and wrote it. When we finally got funding, this is like a few years later, this is, a few years after I left drama school, got funding somehow miraculously, but I lost kind of creative control over it. The director wanted to completely rewrite the end as well. So the end of it, the character involved in the end of it wasn't even in my script at all. So my original script was very much more slasher movie, and there was no kind of oddness other than it was like people that could exist or do exist kind of thing. So the killers in my movie, it was actually 2 killers, not 1. So it was my kind of ode to Scream, and there were completely different characters. So I would change that. I would actually take it back to my original script, which I think was much stronger, because it was like all good, and then it just got weird at the end of Serial Caller, and it was like, yeah, this isn't what I wanted. There were other things in Serial Caller I'd also changed. There were scenes in there that were added because the investor wanted them added, and they were pointless to the story. But you have to, take those things if you want the movie made. So it's one of those things. But I would definitely change, my own film. So I don't feel bad about that. Favorite Scream Queen pre-1970. Oh my goodness. Well, the thing is, Scream Queen for me is somebody who's well known for horror, like not just one movie in horror, but like multiple roles in horror really. But I think pre-1970 they didn't really have much of that. So Janet Leigh in Psycho, she's somebody who kind of stands out, but again hadn't done, she was known for Psycho, she's not known for like loads of horror. And maybe Tippi Hedren from The Birds, because again it's an iconic role of her in that kind of green suit with the birds. So maybe those. Elsa Lanchester, the Bride of Frankenstein, and then also Katie Nanna in Mary Poppins. She appears years later. It's a tough one, pre-1970s. And then if I look back at like a little bit later, favourite Scream Queens and like the kind of classic Hammer age, it would be hard to say again because I'm friends with some of them, so I couldn't choose. So I'd have to say like Caroline Munro, Judy Matheson, Pauline Peart, otherwise one of them will kill me. And And then favourite Scream Queens from the 90s, which is my era, the ones that I just mentioned that I'd love to have on the podcast. So Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Neve Campbell, Fairuza Balk. That was my kind of like favourite era of horror for me. Highlight of 2025. Getting to the end of it. Getting to the end of it in one piece and thinking, wow, I've actually managed to do a whole year of podcasts. So that's been pretty incredible. Highlights. It's a really tough question because this year, I mean, I feel like I've blinked and this year has just flown by. I don't know. It's really hard to like pin something down. I mean, I've gone on, a few good hikes. I've done lots of fun stuff. I don't know. What's my favourite thing? I'm sure Kyle will be like, why didn't you say that when he watches this? But I can't think of anything that's, I don't know. This year is literally, like I said, I feel like I've blinked and it's gone. Am I working on any horror productions in 2026? I hope so. Nothing's booked in, but I hope so. What other Scream Queens would you like to work with? Well, basically any on my list. Who would I like to work? Well, I'm in films with Caroline Munro, but I haven't actually ever done any scenes with her, so I would love to do something where we had some screen time together. Also, Emily Booth, we haven't had any screen time together, so I'd love to work on a film with Emily. I think it'd be cool to have like some, UK Scream Queens in something together, so maybe we should make it happen. What was the best horror of 2025? There are some good ones this year. Do you know what I've loved about 2025? It's like the revival of some of the 90s or early noughties horror. So that era of film that I really love, late 90s, early noughties. So Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Final Destination. Obviously, Final Destination, the final Bloodlines that came out. And what I loved about it was they twisted it a little bit. So every Final Destination film has been consistently good. There hasn't been a bad one. Like, you know what you're going to get. The recipe's the same, but they're really inventive in their deaths and it's all been really good. Whereas Bloodlines is sort of the same recipe, but they twisted it around. So it was like, oh, okay, so there's something new here. So I loved that. I really liked 28 Years Later. I know you said favourite, so I've got to pick between them. But also, I Know What You Did Last Summer. And what I loved about I Know What You Did Last Summer was it wasn't a straight up remake or a reboot. It was a reboot of the story, but they didn't, get rid of the original characters. They didn't cease to exist. It was a reboot of the story with some of the original characters in it. And I love the twist at the end. So I'm going to say that was my favourite. And I know some of my friends didn't like it. They watched it and said they didn't like it, but it was everything I wanted it to be. I don't know what else you'd want from it. I thought it was great. So yeah, I'm going with that. And somebody else did ask what am I most looking forward to in 2026 film-wise. Practical Magic 2. And I think, is there a new Scream coming out? Have I made that up? I don't know. Those two. Those are the ones I'm looking forward to the most. What Christmas slasher has the best aesthetic? I really like Black Christmas, but the noughties version with Michelle Trachtenberg and Carrie Fisher. I like the original, but I always feel like and you can shoot me now, 70s slasher movies, they were quite slow. Like, I find Halloween very slow, and although it's, a classic and it, invented the genre really, I like, a bit more pace. So I liked the noughties. I think it was the noughties, either late 90s or it was early noughties. I've got a feeling it was noughties. I think that one. Do you think you could survive a zombie apocalypse? Honestly, no chance. No, I don't think I'd fare well against zombies. I mean, I could run quite fast, but then I'm quite short. So I don't have long legs. I don't know. Not sure. Probably not. I don't know what my tactic would be. I don't know what I'd do in order to survive. Have I been naughty or nice this year? I think I've been nice. I think I've been nice this year. I've been very good this year. What are you getting for Christmas? I've asked Santa for a Hoover, which is not what everybody would want for Christmas. And I feel like it's a sign that I've hit a certain age where you're asking for a Hoover for Christmas. But do you know what it is? I've got cats. There's 3 litter trays in the house and they're forever kicking the litter everywhere. And every time I Hoover, I have to grab the big Dyson, plug it in, lug it through the house. And I just want one of those Hoovers that I recharge, the ones that are like, you don't have to, wireless. That's it, cordless. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, rechargeable? No, cordless. I want a cordless one that I can just flip out and do the stairs easily, because stairs are hard with a giant Hoover and you've got to get the nozzle bit. I just want a Hoover that, saves me breaking my back every time I need to Hoover, which is about 5 times a day. Who has been my favourite guest on the podcast? Oh my God. That is a really mean question. I can't really answer that. I'm throwing baubles. Because most of the guests have been my friends. There's not been very many guests on the podcast that I didn't know. There's been a few, but mostly it's been people that I've worked with, people I've worked with numerous times, or, my best friends, my boyfriend. So how do you choose? I'm going to ignore all of my, my best friends, because, they know that they're my favourites, each of them. But I will say Brad Watson, who is one of my best friend's boyfriends, he's a friend, but not one of the ones I know super well. I've got to say he is so interesting. His podcast, I think, is probably one of my favourite to listen to, because he is just so knowledgeable. Like, you sit there, you imagine like at school where you're like a child on the carpet and you're sat like this, just listening to what, your teacher says to you. I feel like listening to Brad on a podcast is a lot like that. Like, I could listen to him talk for hours. I feel like if he ever doesn't want to direct anymore, he should lecture, because he has got so much knowledge and so much to say. And like I said, I hardly had to say anything. He just chatted, a bit like me now, because I realise I have nearly done an hour. But yeah, he was really, really good. Also Al Friswell, who I said earlier, I talked to him for an hour about his restoration on the Harryhausen stop motion figures, but could have easily learned a lot more from him. Dacre Stoker, if you're a fan of Dracula or vampires or anything, Bram Stoker, he is, a fountain of knowledge. And my final guest, actually, Simon Bamford, I've got to say, he's somebody, and I've already said this, that, I've only met once before. He's got an incredible body of work, but I didn't know him very well. And I was thinking, when it's somebody you don't know very well, it's harder, because you don't know if conversation's going to flow. You don't know if you're just going to rely on the fact that you've got lots of questions to ask them, if it doesn't, to kind of fill up the time. And I honestly I think we were halfway through the podcast, into the second half, and we hadn't even touched on his career. We were just literally gossiping. And he's someone, I think that he was just super, super nice, and somebody I feel like I could talk to for hours and would probably be very good with friends with, if I did, if we did hang out, because he was just super easy to chat to. So I think he was probably, he was one of my final ones, so obviously still fresh in my memory, but yeah, definitely one of my favourites, I've got to say. Have I got any New Year's resolutions? Not really. My New Year's resolution since I was about 10 has been to learn to do the splits. I have never learned to do the splits. I had a dream the other night though, that I could do the splits, and I was like, in my dream, I was like, I'm doing the splits. This is really bizarre. I haven't even been practicing and I can do the splits. So it's still there. It's still one of them. I still like to learn to do the splits. And I do want to get back into yoga this year. So I qualified as a yoga teacher earlier this year, and then I kind of haven't done any yoga since. So I was dead into it, and I'm always kind of on and off with yoga. But the reason I actually train is because when I'm not doing horror, I'm actually a holistic therapist. So I do crystal healing, I'm a Reiki master, and I do sound therapy. So I often host sound baths and various workshops of different things. And I've teamed up with other practitioners or facilitators before. So I've had a yoga instructor and me, and they'd do the yoga and the meditation, and, I do the sound bath. But I thought, well, sometimes it's hard to find a team, and if I learn how to do it, I could do it myself. I don't necessarily want to be a yoga teacher that goes teaching yoga classes all the time. I feel like, you know, there are people that are much better at yoga than me that should do that. But if I was facilitating, you know, a workshop like based on, you know, a chakra or something, I could do, you know, a yoga, sound bath, meditation package. So that's why I trained. So yeah, getting back to yoga is definitely one of them. Also, the reason I want to get back to yoga is because, you know how most people join the gym in January? Well, I just emailed the gym and to cancel my membership because I've been a member since I've lived here. And I started out, I went quite a bit and then it's dwindled. And I keep saying to myself, I'll go next week, Monday. Oh, it's Tuesday. Next week, the same thing happens. And then it's like, oh, I'll start next month. And I've just realised I've been once in December and I'm paying for a gym membership and I've gone once. So, you know, I part of me kind of thought, should I keep it for the winter and then cancel it in the summer when I can go on more hikes? Because I feel like for me, I want to be outside. I don't want to be stuck in a gym. I don't enjoy weights. I don't go to the classes anymore. For a little while I did, and then they're too late in the day. And by the time I've been to a class, I'm home, I've showered, it's like lunchtime because they're not until 10. Like if a class was at 6 a.m, I'd go to it. So yeah, I've cancelled my gym membership. So I need to get back to yoga. I need to hike more and be more organised. I need to organise my life a little bit better because I do 2 sound baths a month on the moon phases, so full moon and new moon, and often it's like the last week and I haven't sent the invites out, or I haven't done this, I haven't done that. So I need to really organise my diary, and everything that I need to do needs to happen not last minute. That's kind of the resolution. Final question, plans for the podcast for next year. So this is basically the last part of this podcast today. So during 2025 or the beginning of 2025, I didn't just start doing the podcast. I also started the Vegan Vamp, which was an old blog I had pre-lockdown. I had a vegan blog called the Vegan Vamp, and it was all kind of vegan stuff. And I was reviewing vegan restaurants, reviewing vegan food, cooking vegan food, putting recipes up. And then lockdown, obviously that became difficult because I couldn't go anywhere to review stuff, and I realized there's only so much I can cook. I can't really have a recipe going out, you know, every week because I may not cook a new thing every week. So that kind of dwindled, and then I brought it back for 2025 and I was putting some recipes out there, and I think I got into like March or something and then there just hasn't been anything. So there were also other ideas that I want to do. So I've been doing a little bit of unboxing. So using Miss Danny Screams, which is my Instagram handle. I wouldn't necessarily call myself Miss Danny Screams. It is just Danny Thompson. That's my name as an actress and also my real name. But my handle used to be Miss Danny Tees, which was the name I used when I had a very, very short-lived burlesque career. And at the time, it was when Instagram used to blue tick you. So I had my name as Miss Danny Tees because I was doing the burlesque thing. And then Instagram blue ticked me. I stopped doing burlesque, but if you changed your name, they took your blue ticks away. And this was like years ago. I know like blue ticks now you have to pay for, and I'm not that vain. I don't feel the need. So I was like, well, I don't really need to be Miss Danny Tees anymore because it doesn't really work with, you know, what I do. I do horror, not burlesque. But then Danny Thompson's taken, Scream Princess is taken. So I was like, what can it be? And I thought, oh, well, I do horror, so Miss Danny Screams. So that's what I used. It's the name of my channel, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter. So all my social media is, you know, the same name, keeping it, you know, all as one. So Miss Danny Screams Presents, but that's only for the unboxing and also for my movie lists. So I've done a 31 Days of Horror for Halloween this year. I did 12 Slays of Christmas, so that Miss Danny Screams Presents, but only for those things. So for 2026, for the podcast, I'm going to slow it down because 52 episodes, 53 now, has been a lot of work, and it's been hard to keep up with. I'm running out of people to ask. You get those people you keep asking and they keep ignoring you or keep like saying yeah and then not getting back to you. So I think I'm running out of people that I know. So it's harder to kind of obviously find people that I don't know to ask. So yeah, I'm going to slow it down partly because I'm running out of people, partly because it's just a lot of work and I want to do other things. So I'm going to just aim for one a month on the podcast. So that's going to be 12 podcasts for 2026. So I'd love to get Devaney Pinn on for one of them, as mentioned earlier. And so that's 11 more to fill. So I'm looking for guests. I'm going to be more picky, I think, with like having different types of people. So, you know, one actress, and then I want somebody that does something else. And some, you know, I want people to do different things that fit into the world of horror, spooks, and, you know, just interesting people, really. So it's not all film based, because it's been kind of heavy on the film stuff for the last year. And like, you know, it is because I work in the film industry and that's the people I know, but I'd like to mix it up a little bit. So if you've got any ideas for interesting guests, or if you're watching this and you think you fit into that bracket, then do drop me a message and we'll see if we can get you on the podcast. So 12 podcasts. I'm going to be doing 12 vegan vamps, maybe a few more, because there are a few months that have, you know, more than 4 Wednesdays, so I need to fill those up. So maybe a few extra vegan vamps. Some unboxings, and Miss Danny Screams unboxes, Miss Danny Screams presents. So there will be 12 movie top 5s. So we're starting in January with my 5 favourite zombie movies, which was a tough one because I don't usually like zombie movies, but I'll tell you about that when we get there. So 12 of those, so different themes of movies. And there's the Canny Adventures, which I've been doing. So myself and Kyle just out and about doing stuff that we do. We did a pumpkin head shoot this year. We did some fungus hunting. So it's just to kind of touch on my life and the things that I tend to get up to when I'm not doing horror, because like I said, you know, I'm in the Northeast now. I'm not working as much, and, you know, I do get out to other stuff. So it's just to kind of let you in if you're interested. You may not be. In what I'm doing. So we've got a few ideas there. And the other big one that I want to do is something I've wanted to do for ages. And I'm an avid hiker. I think I've mentioned hiking about 10 times in this podcast. I love spooky stuff. So I want to do haunted hikes. So it will be me hiking and then talking about various kind of haunted locations. I mean, ideally I'd love to do some kind of like travel show, but it's just me. I'm a team of me. It is me writing. It is me on camera. It is me setting up the camera and the lights. It is me editing, and it's me doing everything. So it's very hard when you're a team of one. I mean, Kyle does help, so that makes 2. But for some of it, it's just me. Some of it is 2 of us. So yeah, doing like a full kind of travel show would be tricky and a lot of work. But something that I'd like to work up to. So I don't know if that's a New Year's resolution or, you know, just something that I would like to do. But yeah, there's going to be haunted hikes, more outdoorsiness, more whatever. There's things that we're going to do, make photo shoots, like just basically my life on YouTube. So the YouTube channel is going to be a lot more varied, rather than, you know, just podcast. So I think it's been getting that way towards the end of 2025 anyway. But yeah, I'm just gonna try and do a little bit more of that. So that's me. There was me at the beginning of this, wasn't there, saying this is not going to be an hour, it'll just be about half an hour of me chatting, and then I've literally sat here and talked for over an hour all by myself. I didn't think I talked that much. No, I'm lying. I did. I even talked to myself. I learned that this year. I was I was cooking in the kitchen. My friend was sat at my dining table and he was like, "Are you actually making soup from scratch?" And I was like, "Well, yes. How do you think I get soup?" And he was like, "From a tin." And then I'm cooking away and he's like, he's like, "Did you just say bubble, bubble, bubble?" And I'm like, "I think I did." And he's like, "What were you trying to do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm trying to get the soup to boil." But I realized that I must be in my kitchen, just alone in the house, cooking and talking to stuff, trying to get soup to boil. Witchcraft. If you tell it to bubble, it will. Also, turn on the gas. That's also a good tip. But anyway, on that note, tips from Danny. I want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. This is, I think it's the 31st as this goes out. I mean, if it's not and this is out, then ignore this part. So yeah, have a very, very happy new year. I hope it's very prosperous. I hope you get abundance, and I hope you have amazing health, and I hope you get everything that you dream of in 2026. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Comment if you like it.